Hey guys, welcome back to more AFK Arena. In today's video, I'm going to try and do my best to answer who you should stargaze for. It's a very commonly asked question everywhere, over on stream, in the comments, all that sort of stuff. So I'm not going to give you a set, this is what you must do. I just want to talk about it, go through the different Celestials and Hypergeans and the options that you have, depending on also how you want to go for it, whether you want to have an account where, you start saving diamonds early for Stargaze and then you go all out on one character, or whether, you're going to progress and basically only use those Stargazer cards that you get from faction towers and events and stuff like that. So let's get into it. Okay, a couple things at the start. If you just love a hero and you want to build them and you want to stargaze for them because that gives you fun in the game, games are all about fun, go ahead, do that. That's the first thing, first priority every time. Secondly, Athalia, Wukong, Aziz, and Flora, don't stargaze for them. If you're a whale, maybe it might be worth it to go ahead and get them early so you can finish building teams. For free to play and light spending, I just bide your time, get them from the store. For the challenger store, I go Aziz, then Flora, then Athalia. Aziz, obviously God comp, is just amazing. Flora, because she's got some good comps and she's cheap, so you'll get her there quickly, and then Athalia is just years down the road. And then obviously you can get the Wukong from the lab store when you're not saving resources for dimensional heroes. So that's the first thing. Next thing I want to talk about is there's two ways to look at stargazing. There's the way of I'm going to save diamonds before chapter 16 and go ham on stargazing. It's a really fun strategy. I don't think it's optimal. I did it on my main account for Taylene. I found it incredibly fun, and it gives you like a nice, when we talk about enjoyment in the game, when you start saving diamonds from say chapter 10 and you progress to chapter 16, and then like you have like a legendary plus or a mythic Taylene like at that early stage of the game as a low spender or free to play, it's a really nice feeling. So just keep that in mind. If you want to make an alt account, I definitely recommend it for an alt account to have a bit of fun with. But on your main account, up to you. If you're a bit more of a higher spender, you can probably get away with it because you'll be able to get them to that mythic plus ascended a bit faster. And then the other way is obviously just waiting, getting Stargaze tickets from the towers and events that come along and using those, and then keeping in mind once you get to a bit further on in the game, then it just does become more optimal to use diamonds for Stargaze. I made a video about that. Some of the guys in the community made a really good Google spreadsheet that gives you an indicator. It's not guaranteed, but it gives you an indicator on how that happens. So I'll leave a link to that video and the spreadsheet in the description as well. The last thing before we get into it was that there are a few of them that work really well at Elite, being Taylene, Twins, Mahira, and Ulna, all very strong at Elite just to have in your roster. However, I know that stargazing for one of the ones that's not your like priority to get ascended is a bit annoying. Keep in mind, they do a lot of events in this game, and all of these characters have been available through events. So you can probably just leave it and just keep in mind that you can pick them up through events along the way. The other thing that I wanted to mention is the Twins are also very good in Abyssal Expeditions when they do come on, and to have a hero useful in Abyssal Expedition, you do have to have them at Elite Plus. So just keep that in mind with the Twins, where maybe picking up that second copy of the Twins to get them to Elite Plus if you're really keen on Abyssal Expedition might be handy. Okay, I think that's all the disclaimers out of the way. So the first style, that style of if you're saving diamonds early on, you're getting to chapter 16 and then going ham on the Stargaze. Fun strategy. Like I said, probably not the optimal way to play it, but there's two main options that are optimal for that, and that is going to be Taylene and Lucretia. Now, Taylene's really nice in that she is fantastic at Elite. So basically every upgrade just makes her a little bit better. So Taylene, really good. She can really carry your damage in those early stages. The amount of solos I had with my Taylene at Legendary Plus, Mythic Plus, and Ascended, up to like chapter 23, 24, she could just like, the rest of the team could die and she could just solo the enemies by shielding herself, dealing damage, healing up, shielding. it's ridiculous. So really good progression one, even if you're like, you know, low spending or free to play and you decide to go that strategy on an alt account, you can pick her up and you just every extra 2 copies that you get of her to up her ascension just benefits her more and more, and then she just keeps getting better until you get her ascended, and then she's just the star for the rest of the game. Now, the other one in that strategy being Lucretia, which is actually the one that I'm going for on my alt account, which I didn't go ham on it from chapter 16. I started stargazing probably, I don't even know what I'm on at the moment, 26. I probably ran chapter 20. Keeping in mind, the reason I went for Lucretia here is because I did have irons, so I'm happy just to buy my time because I got a really strong carry there. But Lucretia is the other one because she is basically a one hero team. She can solo, she can carry a whole team, and do it really, really well. So the thing about Lucretia is, you know, she does start to get a lot better once you start getting furniture, get her to ascended. Obviously, signature item really helps her out a lot too. She's one of those ones, unlike Taylene, where Taylene, even if she is at only a legendary plus, she still benefits the whole team. If Lucretia is not doing her job of carrying the team, then she's not really helping out too much. So Lucretia, you really want to push her to ascended really fast. So she's more of a, you know, spending option. But once again, like I said, free to play, you can still do it as long as you have another option. And that's the other thing about this strategy of stargazing early. Still try to have a mythic plus, like 4 copies of another carry to that point at least. Something like an Iron, a Stitchy, or a Saurus, just so you got something to, like, you know, keep you afloat while you're saving diamonds. Don't have like no more than 2 copies of any hero and then try and save for chapter 16 because you will get screwed. But those are my 2 main options for that strategy, and it's a strategy I definitely recommend on an alt account because it's incredibly fun. Now for the main strategy that most people are going to use, and that's through, you know, gradually progressing, getting your Stargazer tickets, starting out by stargazing, just using the Stargazer tickets that you get from tower and events, and then, you know, you push into that chapter 24, 25, 26, and then you start leaning into stargazing because you've got enough normal faction heroes built. This is where it gets a bit more complicated because there's a lot more options. Basically, for me, the first hero that you can stargaze for is a choice between 3. Once again, based on a little bit of personal preference. You could probably get incredibly min-maxy and go, okay, this one is mathematically the most, but hey, it's a game about fun. So, to me, you're choosing between the twins, the Taylene, and the Lucretia once again. Now, Lucretia on this account where I'm at, and this is what I sort of did. I started stargazing around chapter 23, I think it was 22, 23. It's a free-to-play account. Like I said, I've got my main, I got a bunch of core units built that will carry me through the game. So now I'm building my Lucretia. Now, the reason I'm doing the Lucretia is that she is going to give me a really solid carry option once I hit the staging campaign where I need 2 teams on boss battles. Basically, she's my second. Like I said, she's a 1 hero team, and she is that second win condition for me. Gonna be moving forward. Obviously, I have Irons as my main one at the moment, but then I will have the Lucretia by the time I hit those chapters. So she's the one I went for. The other 2 options, like I said, twins and Taylene. Now, the twins are a really nice one because the thing about the twins is they're fantastic the whole way through, even from Elite in boss battles, you know, guild hunts and Twisted Realm. But to use them in campaign, they really need to start getting towards Mythic and Ascended. So they are very strong in campaign as well. However, they can't really function there at Elite in the later chapters. They just get melted far too quickly. Sometimes their link can be beneficial, but they just die so quick. So getting those twins upgraded is going to help you everywhere. And the other cool thing about getting a twins upgraded is if you have an ascended twins, when it comes to boss battles and stuff like that, obviously we have something like Saurus, who's very, you know, free to play, obviously being one of the core factions. If you have a 30 signature item Saurus, and then you go ahead and build an ascended twins, that means in the bosses, be it the guild hunts or the Twisted Realm, you can mercenary whatever the tech hero of choice is for those boss battles. Because most of the boss battles, twins and Saurus are like staples. There's a few they're not, but like they're pretty staple. And then you get things like Mortis, Rain, stuff like that go through boss metas. You had Grizzles, Warwicks, stuff like that. If you have the twins and the Saurus, it means you can just mercenary whatever the tech choice is at the time for boss battles, and you can just slot that in, and then you get a really optimal team. But like I said, twins also, once you get them to Mythic Plus Ascended, become very, very strong in campaign. Not only in God Comp as well, they can just be very strong in other teams as well, but mainly focusing on the God Comp. Then obviously, Talene, like we stated before, just fantastic in general. Just a great all-round hero, every aspect of the game, except for boss fights. She's not really key in boss fights, except for the one with the... What's his name? Forgot the dude's name. The Twisted Realm, where he executes people. Talene, amazing for that. But besides that, PvP, PvE progression, Talene is an absolute savage. And like I said, same thing with this. If you're just stargazing her, getting 1 or 2 copies, and then getting her to Legendary Plus, then to Mythic, every ascension on Talene is going to help. And she's always going to find a spot in that team. And she's just going to be better than she was before when she gets to a higher ascension. So basically with those 3, whatever order you choose to do them in, I don't think it's going to be, you're not going to go, oh, I regret doing that one first. All 3 of them are fantastic. So you can choose either one of those as your first one. And I would do those 3 as the first 3 that you do Stargaze for. And for most people, that should be a fair set for you to look at and moving into the future, because keeping in mind we will get new Celestials and Hypergenes, and some of them might bump up in the order, but those 3 are just 3 absolutely fantastic units that I think no matter what other unit comes into the game in Celestials and Hypergenes, they may get a higher priority than those 3, but those 3 are always going to be a fantastic option just because of the way they all work. They're all going to keep their value even if something is a little bit better than them. The investment's not going to be wasted in those 3. So those 3 are the first 3 I would Stargaze. The order is your choice. For me personally, I think if you do Talene or Twins first, I think the next one you should do is the Talene or the Twins, just because you're building God Comp. So it's either Talene and Twins first, then Lucretia, or you do Lucretia first, then the other 2. That is the way I look at it, because there's no point to me going Talene, then Lucretia, then Twins, when you could have had a God Comp built and really been pushing with that. And for those that don't know what God Comp is, that's basically Talene, Twins, Aziz, Rowan, and Mahira is optimal. You can use Tassie and stuff like that. There's a lot of variants on it, but that's the core one. You can actually replace the Talene with a Saurus. So if you're using a Saurus carry, maybe you just go for the Twins first up. Then you've got a functional pseudo God Comp and stuff like that. But moving on from those 3, the next 2 I would look at is Mahira and Ulna. Now, these 2, once again, both very strong heroes at Elite. So if you don't have a copy of them and you see them come up in an event for an exchange, pick them up. Both very, very good. Mahira has 3 lives. She sits in the back. She whips allies, gives them haste, and then also charms enemies. Absolutely fantastic unit at Elite. And great at Mythic as well, because at Mythic you can unlock that signature item. And on my main account, this is where I do have my Mahira. I have her sitting at Mythic. So it's really nice. I've got her at 30 signature item. I don't think it's a priority. It was just something that I really wanted to do. I wanted to test out Mahira. But she's just good all round from Elite straight up to Ascended. I find she works pretty well at Mythic, but you can ascend her if you want. But like I said, just an all-round great hero and worthwhile Stargazing. Core part of the God Comp, but the one member in the God Comp that needs the least investment, in my opinion, because she can just sort of hide up the back and do her thing and not stress too much. Now, the other one we're looking at is Ulna. Now, Ulna is great. The thing with Ulna is that she needs a lot of investment into her to become like a real team player. She's fantastic at Elite just because herself, she has this, where is it? Immunity to damage for 9 seconds, which she does reapply throughout the battle. So she runs in, it's the first thing she casts. Something like an Astralda can actually interrupt it, like get in before she does this and kill her. But in general, she's going to be immune to damage for the first 9 seconds of battle, which is fantastic. The thing that makes her really good, and when you go look at Stargazing for her, when placed on the front line, the effects of the ability Winter's Call, which is that 9-second immunity, also take effect for other frontline allies. So this is where, when you're stargazing hard for her and ascending her, you got to keep in mind, try and think of it early and start putting her on that wish list, because you will want that 9 of 9 furniture, because it is like the biggest impact that she will have once you start getting her ascended, because an immunity for the ally on the front row as well is actually huge. It just opens up so many options that you can play with. So keep that in mind with Ulna. Next up in the groupings, we do have Zafrael, Zolrath, and Mezoth. Now these guys are all good. Zolrath's amazing for PvP. These guys are all really good, basically PvP units, not as strong in PvE, and that's why they fall down here. If we were doing a PvP, if you're really focused on PvP, something like a Zolrath is really fun to go for. He's an absolute beast, and you know, if you were doing one of those early accounts, going a Zolrath could be a fun option. Zafrael, once again, really strong in PvP, just doesn't seem to scale as well in the PvE. Mezoth can be a really good PvE tank, and he's really good in PvP as well, but he's just not like that top priority. He doesn't have as much of an impact on your whole team as some of those higher rated units in this list. So those three, basically, Zafrael, great PvP damage, pretty much sums it up. Zolrath, basically, once you get his 3 furniture, he becomes an absolute beast, allowing your team to enter the battle faster than the enemies, allowing your Euron stuff in the front row to be guaranteed to get his abilities off and stuff like that without getting interrupted. Absolutely huge. And then, yeah, Mezoth, thick tank, pretty much sums it up. But those 3, they just fall that tier below the other 5 that we've already mentioned, just because, once again, they're more PvP focused and not going to impact your progression as much as the others. And the final 2 that we do have is going to be Mortis and Khazad. Now, Mortis is one that is coming into the boss meta. He's becoming very relevant in a lot of the bosses. But like I said earlier, if you have those twins already built and you like build a Saurus and, you know, the core units that you need from the normal factions, it leaves you open to be able to mercenary that Mortis to get high damage in bosses. So even though he is becoming very relevant, due to him not being like the top tier unit in PvE progression or PvP, and he's really just shining in the bosses, he just falls into that category of, yes, he's good, but you can just mercenary him for the main uses that you would be getting him for. And that's pretty much where he falls into. Like, the abilities he has are fantastic for bosses, but once again, just mercenary him and you're pretty good. And then the final one that we do have to look at over here is going to be Khazad. Now, I love Khazad. I did play an account where I stargazed for him early. He had some incredible rates over on that 530 account. I've dropped the account since because I've just too many accounts. But this guy is awesome. The problem with him is just that everything else just sort of creeps up being better in positions than him. So he's a really nice PvE carry. His problem is he's very squishy. So he can really work in PvE, but when you get further into the game and there's a lot more pressure coming onto your team and things die a lot faster, he's very vulnerable. And then in PvP, he's sort of very easy to counter because he is just so squishy. So cool unit, just doesn't completely excel anywhere, and that's why he falls down here. But still, you know, if he's your dude and you really like him, go ahead, because he is really fun. Okay, because that was a really long explanation on everything, I decided just to go quickly then and make a little visual for it. So basically, and this is once again not 100% min-maxy, keep in mind having fun's the most important thing, but this is a good rough guide that's not going to make you feel like you completely wasted your resources. So that top one, Talene, Twins, and Lucretia. To me, if you do Talene or Twins first, then do the other one second, and then do Lucretia, or you can go Lucretia first, then the other two. After that, you move down, you work on Ulna or Mahira, whichever one you think is going to benefit you more. Past that, we start looking at PvP once you sort of get into those later chapters, which this is much later on. Then you're going to start focusing a bit more on PvP. I'd probably go Zolrath first, then Zafrael, then Mezoth, just a personal opinion, but either one of those three ain't bad. And then moving past that, we have Khazad and Mortis. Like I said, Khazad just doesn't quite get there as much as he used to, and Mortis, really a boss specialist, and you can just mercenary him for bosses. So that is the recap with all the explanations out of the way. Let me know what you're stargazing for, whether you agree with this, whether you have different opinions on what your stargaze priority should be. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.